If you're an executive assistant preparing for an interview, then this video is a must watch. A friend of mine was having her first EA interview sometime last week, and we practiced with these questions. These are questions that have been asked over the last 6 years working as an executive assistant, and I thought to share that with her. And we went over this question. Guess what? 80% of the interview questions were exactly what we practiced during our practice section. And you can guess what happened. She landed the job. So I thought to share this with my community so that if you're preparing for an interview, then this would be helpful to you. Hello, this is Boss Behind the Boss, where we're helping you boss up as an executive assistant. Now, the first question is, what are the top qualities you possess as an executive assistant? Now, when you're being asked this question in an interview, they're actually looking to see what qualities you possess aside the regular administrative tasks kind of thing, right? So what are your soft skills? They want to see if you have a strategic mindset. They want to see if you have what it takes to be a top tier EA. So for this question, the best way to answer it is to sell yourself beyond just handling administrative tasks, beyond just the regular kind of stuff, managing schedules, calendar, email management, and all of that. This is where you sell yourself as a problem solver. This is where you sell yourself as a strategic partner. Very important. The second question is, beyond administrative tasks, what can you offer to the company? Now, this is kind of similar to the first question. For this part, they want to see that beyond just administrative tasks, you're able to contribute to the business goals and to the company goals. For you to nail this part, you have to research about whatever company you're interviewing for beforehand, so that you're able to tie your answers to the business goals, you're able to tie your answers to the company's mission and vision and all of that, right? So it's actually very, very important. So ensure to do your research before the interview. You can also mention that you are, this is also where you position yourself as someone that is a good leader, someone that is very strategic, just like I mentioned before, and you're most likely able to help the company achieve at least 20 to 30% of its goal in so area, in so ways, right? That is also going to make you stand out from every other person. Now, before I go to the next question, something I want to mention and something I want to point out, which is also something I told my friend, is that a lot of people are interviewing for the same position. A lot of people are interviewing for, the same EA position. What is going to make you stand out? Everybody's going to come there and say, oh, I'm going to manage your schedule, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. What are you going to say differently that's going to make you stand out, that's going to position you like in front of every other person, that's going to have you, stand out pretty much? What are you going to say differently? So that's what you want to think about before you go for any interview, before you get into any interview room, virtual, physical, whatever it is. You want to pinpoint one thing that's going to make you stand out. And for most times, for me, it has been tying the job to my personality. Now, I usually say I'm a naturally organized person. I can naturally adapt to environments and situation, which is true. That is how I am. So I always tie it to the job role. And also, this is now like a personal stuff, but I just thought to also add that to it for you guys, right? You want to also be cheerful during these interviews. So most times, HR professionals or the executive that you're working with, they come off as mean or strict or whatever. But something that has always worked for me is being cheerful during this interview. Nobody wants an assistant that people are scared of. They want an assistant that is cheerful, someone that is lively. However, they also know the person also knows where to draw the line. So that is very important to keep in mind. Now, the third question is, explain a scenario or a situation where you've had to lead people, where you had to handle a project on your own, and maybe the outcome. They may or may not ask you the outcome, right? But what they're actually looking for here is to understand your leadership qualities. Now, what you want to do is to sell yourself as a wise leader. You want to sell yourself as a wise leader. You want to sell yourself as somebody that possesses great leadership quality, right? So that is something that is very important. So for this question, the best way to answer it is to mention a time where you had to take on like a very challenging project, or when you had to deal with like a team member that's a very challenging team member, a difficult team member, or something like that. How you were able to handle it and the outcome. Now, if you mention your project, what happened during the project? Did you have like shortage of resources? Did you have less resources to deal with? Was it manpower? Whatever the problem had, tight budget, or anything like that. Now, after mentioning that, you also mention the outcome. I always say this: when you're answering interview questions, especially for EAs, you don't just stop at mentioning the problem. You also bring solutions. So you cannot say, "Oh, during I handled this project one time and the budget was da 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 da," and you stop there. No, you have to go as far as saying that, okay, I handled this project regardless of the fact that we had like a tight budget, or regardless of the fact that we had like limited manpower or limited resources and all of that. We were able to achieve at least 50 to 70% of our goals. We were able to achieve da da da. Just mention all of the things that you were able to achieve during that project. That is going to make you stand out. That is going to be a great selling point for you. So you want to keep that in mind. Now, another question is, this is very similar to the first question again. What do you think is the top or best quality an executive assistant should possess? Now, the first one was top 3 qualities, right? They want to see like varieties, but this one, they want to see like the particular thing that you think an executive assistant should possess. And for this, let me tell you something. There are like top 2 skills that every executive is looking out for, every company is looking out for in the executive assistant. The first one is adaptability, being able to adapt to situations, environment, because no 2 days as an EA is the same. You always something new will always come up every single day. So they want to see that you're somebody that can easily adapt to changes. And yeah, the other one is discretion, adaptability and discretion. Now for discretion, they want to see that you're able to handle confidential information and documents really, really well. So you also want to pay attention and sell yourself well in that regard. Nobody wants an EA that's a blabbermouth that is just saying everything. That's because, I mean, as an EA, you know, like almost 90 to 95% of everything about your boss, or his secrets, business secrets, so many things. So they want to make sure that you are somebody that can keep confidential information. You are somebody that knows when to say what and how to say what. Very important. Now, the final question that I'm going to talk about is, how would you handle an unwanted call or meeting for your boss? Now, this might not come in the exact way that I've said it. They might give you a scenario, if da 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 da, or what would you do, right? So, but just know that that is literally what they're asking. Because most times they ask scenario-based questions. So, what they're actually trying to find out is how you can protect their time without offending stakeholders or their relationship with people. Now, for this, you want to show that you're somebody that can actually be able to, understand people, that can relate with people, and that can get people to do stuff without offending them. What do I mean by this? You have to be firm but polite in situations like this. You have to also be somebody that, you have to have a discerning mind or something like that. Pinpoint who is who and what is the purpose of the call, right? So when you take these calls or when you read these emails, you should be able to discern and say, okay, is this very important? Can this be squeezed into the schedule regardless of how tight it is? Is it something that is very, 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 very urgent? Or if it's not, then how do I, communicate with this person without them feeling very offended? Now, I've put together various interview questions beyond everything I've mentioned here. These are real life interview questions. These are questions that I've helped people practice with. These are questions I've been asked. These are questions that I've tested with a lot of people, and I've put them together in a template that I'll be giving out to you guys. So let me know if you want it in the comment section, and also the link will be attached below so you can have access to it and download it and be able to nail your next interview as an executive assistant. So if you found it helpful, like, comment, and turn on the notification bell so you can be aware of when the next video drops. Don't forget, you're not just an assistant, but the boss behind the boss.